The former NYPD Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch just announced that Mr. Maddrey is being investigated by both the Internal Affairs Bureau and federal prosecutors from the Southern District of New York.
Happy New Year, folks, and what way to kick things off than the FBI making some moves. That's right, the FBI is here and it sucks for Jeffrey Maddrey. So this guy, the former NYPD Chief of Department, already drowning in allegations of favoritism and misconduct, now has federal agents raiding his home. Why is the FBI on his case? And let's be real, when the FBI in the Southern District of New York roll up, they're not here looking for tea, they're looking for something big. So what could they be after? Is it text messages, secret bank accounts, a map to buried overtime gold? We can only wildly speculate, but whatever it is serious enough to escalate this from the internal NYPD drama to a full-blown federal case, just like the mayor. So let's get into this, what the FBI may be hunting for and what charges Maddrey could be facing. And the spoiler alert is not looking good. News broke recently that the federal prosecutors from the Southern District of New York have joined in this investigation into Maddrey's actions. Law enforcement officials execute search warrants at multiple locations, including Maddrey's home.
Federal prosecutors today launched an investigation into former Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey. Investigators searched several locations tied to Maddrey, including his Queens home. He was also suspended from the department.
This investigation is being led by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. They were here at the home of former Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey earlier this morning. Sources say this investigation is into both Maddrey and members of his department, and they're looking for electronic devices, cell phone, text messages, emails, anything that might corroborate approving these exorbitant amounts of overtime.
This case was the fraudulent submission of overtime, from what I understand. So this is the entire 14th floor, pretty much, of the NYPD has been affected by this.
So let's pause here for a second. First off, that's a very nice big home, and you can see the Mercedes in the driveway there in the garage area. So Maddrey has been doing very, very well for himself. But again, this isn't just an internal NYPD probe anymore. When the SDNY gets involved, and that's the Southern District of New York, you know that the stakes are high. These are the same prosecutors that handle high-profile corruption cases and major criminal enterprises. We're talking about the NYPD here. So the move suggests that what has started as allegations of misconduct within the NYPD has expanded to include the possibility of federal crimes. So we're talking about Maddrey's past actions, including the alleged abuse of power and the potential financial misconduct. The initial allegations that led to Maddrey's resignation evolved around the claims from a subordinate officer, Quantisha Epps. She alleged that Maddrey coerced her into a sexual relationship in exchange for overtime opportunities. Maddrey, of course, denies this, insisting that the relationship was consensual. However, with the feds involved, it's clear that the investigators aren't taking his word for it. Plus, we already established that there's other women who had outrageous amount of overtime as well. So it doesn't look great for him. This isn't just about whether a relationship was consensual. It's about whether Maddrey abused his power to manipulate the NYPD's overtime system for personal gain. Remember, Epps raked in over $200,000 in overtime last year, and Maddrey alleged favoritism extended to other officers in his inner circle.
According to departmental records, Lieutenant Quantisha Epps, Maddrey's personnel officer, worked more than 1,600 hours in the fiscal year of 2024, bumping her salary to $406,000.
How is that possible?
It also shows Detective Ingrid Sanders, Maddrey's driver, with more than 1,400 hours of overtime, bumping her salary to $352,000.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Maddrey's second in command, Deputy Chief Paul Saraceno, who oversaw overtime approval, was modified Wednesday evening.
So now with the SDNY involvement has raised the stakes significantly, suggesting potential criminal charges may be on the table. This isn't just about Jeffrey Maddrey anymore. His case is a shining example on some systemic issues within NYPD. So we have a new commissioner by the name of Jessica Tisch, and she has been firing and throwing everyone around. Recently announced a complete reshuffling of the internal affairs personal and leadership within the department.
Commissioner Jessica Tisch announcing Madry's suspension as of 6:45 a.m., saying, "In my direction, the Internal Affairs Bureau of the New York City Police Department is working with law enforcement authorities to investigate allegations against former Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry." Commissioner Jessica Tisch removed 14 officials from the Internal Affairs Bureau after the chief also abruptly resigned in the overtime abuse scandal.
That is over the top. I've never seen this before.
Is the acknowledgement that Jeffrey's alleged misconduct did not happen in a vacuum. This is a problem that has deep structural issues. Jeffrey Madry isn't the first NYPD leader to be accused of abusing their power, and he probably won't be the last unless serious reforms are going to take place. So Tisch's actions suggest the department is trying to clean house, but reshuffling personnel only goes so far. So the real question here is whether the NYPD will implement some systemic changes to prevent this kind of misconduct from ever happening again. Jeffrey's public defense so far has been twofold. He's denying wrongdoing and insisting that his relationships were consensual. But here's the problem. Even if the relationships were consensual, the overtime payouts and the allegations of favoritism paint a picture of a leader who exploited his position for personal benefit, mostly the booty calls. When your home is being raided by the federal authorities, it was consensual doesn't hold much water. Investigators are looking beyond Madry's words to the systems that he oversaw and the patterns of behavior he exhibited. Did he manipulate the overtime system? I know he says that he's not necessarily directly responsible for putting in overtime.
The overtime aspect of this case, we want to set the record straight so that everyone understands how overtime works in the NYPD. There is a system of checks and balances in place so that overtime can't be stolen. But let me tell you right now, Chief Madry is not a part of that checks and balance system. Chief Madry manages the day-to-day operations of 33,500 police officers in their fight on crime.
But again, did he influence the person that did that? Did he foster a culture of favoritism that eroded the trust within the department? These are the questions that investigators are likely asking when they shift through the evidence that they seize. So the SDNY is known for its aggressive and meticulous approach when it comes to investigations. They have taken down corrupt politicians, major crime families, and high-profile financial fraudsters, scammers. Their involvement in Madry's case sends a clear message: this is not going to be swept under the rug. For Madry, this means that he is facing some of the most skilled prosecutors in the country. For the NYPD, it means that any attempts to protect or downplay Madry's actions will likely backfire. So the SDNY isn't playing around. They're going after him, and they're looking at the broader culture of the NYPD and how it enabled this kind of behavior. So where does that leave Madry? Well, quitting was just the beginning. Now the federal investigator is finding evidence of criminal wrongdoing. He can face charges ranging from corruption to financial fraud. Let's not forget the possibility of civil suits from the other officers who allege misconduct. Maybe they get involved as well. For the NYPD, the fallout could be even more significant. Madry's cases risk undermining the public trust in the department at a time where police accountability is already a hot button issue. There's a lot of people here in New York City who do not like the cops, so this does not help at all. So if this investigation uncovers some systemic failures, it could lead to broader calls for reform and potentially even federal oversight. And going back to the police commissioner reshuffling some of the personnel, this is obviously a clear attempt at damage control, but accountability means more than just moving people around or demoting people. It means addressing the root causes of this corruption, all of this favoritism, booty call for overtime within the NYPD. Will Tisch go beyond the surface level, looks good on TV kind of reforms to implementing lasting changes? Only time will tell. As the federal investigators continue to work, one can only hope that this case will obviously be a turning point for NYPD. Will it spark meaningful reforms, or will it likely fade into the background as another scandal is swept under the rug? All we can do now is wait and see how the story unfolds. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more scandalous nonsense coming out of this situation, especially after the feds raided his home in multiple locations. It is highly likely that homeboy is going to get a federal indictment. Who else is going to be in that federal indictment? We got our mayor, we got the former NYPD chief, we have commissioners quitting left and right. New York City is starting the new year in a complete mess. What else is new? We'll continue to follow that and more. Let me know what you guys think about this story. Put in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.